When did you realize your siblings were using you? When I found out I wasn't actually adopted. My whole life, my three older siblings told me I was adopted from Korea. They'd whisper about how mom and dad felt sorry for me and took me in out of pity. I believed them because I looked different. Darker hair, different eye shape, shorter than everyone else in the family. They'd make me do their chores by saying, "You should be grateful mom and dad saved you from the orphanage." I'd clean their rooms, do their laundry, wash their dishes, even give them my allowance because I felt like I owed the family everything for rescuing me from some terrible fate overseas. My sister Sophie would make me pack her lunch every morning. Adopted kids should help out more, she'd say, standing in the doorway while I made her sandwich. My brother Adam had me doing his math homework, claiming I needed to earn my place in this family. My oldest brother Matthew was the worst. He'd take money from my birthday cards saying, "Real family members deserve this more than you." For 16 years, I lived like their personal servant. I never questioned it because the story had so many details. They said I arrived on a rainy Tuesday in March when I was 2 years old, carrying a small blue suitcase. Sophie claimed she remembered mom crying happy tears. Adam said dad had to learn some Korean words to help me adjust. Matthew even showed me pictures of Asian families online, saying that could have been your real family. The manipulation was sophisticated. When I'd get upset about doing all their work, they'd guilt trip me. "We accepted you when nobody else would," Sophie would say. "You're lucky we treat you like real family." It made me try even harder to prove I deserved to stay. I started learning Korean in high school, desperate to connect with my heritage. I researched Korean adoption agencies, trying to find my real parents. I even wrote essays about being a grateful adoptee for college applications. Then last month, I needed my birth certificate for those same college applications. Mom handed it over casually while cooking dinner, and I nearly passed out reading it. Same hospital as my siblings, same parents listed, same last name from birth, born right here in Ohio, not Seoul. I stared at that paper for 20 minutes, my hands shaking. Everything I believed about myself was a lie. I confronted my siblings that night. They were watching TV in the living room when I walked in holding the birth certificate. "Want to explain this?" I asked, my voice cracking. Matthew looked up from his phone and just shrugged. "We needed someone to do the grunt work," he said casually. "You were gullible enough to believe it." Sophie laughed. "We started it when you were like 4 and too young to remember being born. You just went along with it," Adam added. "Plus you looked different enough that it seemed believable. We figured you'd catch on eventually, but you never did." They talked about it like it was a harmless prank, not a 16-year psychological manipulation that shaped my entire identity. Turns out I just inherited different genes from our Korean grandmother on dad's side. The adoption story started when I was 4 and asked why I looked different. Instead of explaining genetics, my siblings saw an opportunity. They stole my entire childhood with one lie. The worst part? They had convinced themselves it wasn't that bad. "You got character development," Matthew said. "Most kids don't learn work ethic like you did." I showed the birth certificate to my parents the next morning. Mom went completely silent, her coffee mug frozen halfway to her lips. Dad's face turned white as paper. They had no idea my siblings had convinced me I was adopted for over a decade. "We just thought you were going through a phase," Mom whispered. "When you started talking about Korea, we assumed it was some school project." Dad was furious. He immediately called all 3 of my siblings downstairs and made them confess everything. The fake adoption story, the years of free labor, taking my allowance money, even the elaborate backstory they'd created about my arrival. Now my siblings are the ones doing chores while I focus on college applications. Real ones where I write about overcoming manipulation, not grateful adoption essays. Karma's a beautiful thing.